Yo, what's good? Welcome back to another episode of Black Nerd Fridays. I got my co-host, Neal, aka the podcast king. You know what I'm saying? We missing our sis right now, Suds, but you already know how we do. We hold it down no matter what. We here every Friday. You know how it is. But before we get into our normal conversation, and we talking about, hold on, let me show you what we talking about before we get crazy.
Oh, man, let's get it,
we got
man.
a little
You
something
already
going
know.
on before I do my thing. We got something going on. All right. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I ain't here now. Let me see what we got. All right. There we go.
Get in there. You get it. You get how you get it.
There we go. Hold on. Is it popped up on here? Yeah, I don't know.
All
right. There we go. It's on here. We on here. We good. Okay. So today we talking about Machina, however you want to pronounce it.
Machina.
Turing Test. You know what I'm saying?
The real thing.
Before we get into that, let's talk about what we drinking on right now. Because
man, come on,
it's been a long week for me. You know what I mean? I don't know about you, but it's been a long week. So what you drinking on, D?
Brother, you know what I mean? Go ahead and pop me on the individual line, yo. What up with y'all? What up, world? What up, world? Let's get it. Now I'm drinking this Botswanan. This chocolate stout. My stepdad, he found this at Trader Joe's out here, and he was like, "Yo, for real, hey, this thing is fire, man. It's real chocolatey." It's like he was like, you got me drinking this craft beer, but I didn't find this brand at Trader Joe's. It's only like $6.99 for a six pack. You over here got me spending like $15 for a beer out here, but again, they 12-ounce cans, so a 4-pack, a 4-pack of 16-ounce cans. I mean, you get a little bit more in this size because they're gonna give you a little bit more. You're gonna get about 6 to 8. But no, man, this company, I was trying to check them out. I really wanted to take a look at where they're located. But this is fire, man. They make light beers. Even their IPA is about 8 to 9%. So that's what's up. And I was like, let me give them a shout out. And then last but not least, man, I didn't drink this. The last sour that you gave me, man. My mom was opening that by accident, and she was like, "What is this?" She was like, "This ain't the beer you told me I could drink." So she was like, "What is this smoothie?" I was like, "I don't know." And I tasted it. I was like, "Nah, this ain't for me." But this one right here, this raspberry sweet cherry lime. Right here, man. Is this from Mortalis? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's I know, man. You love you some Mortalis, man. Mortalis, man. Holla at the boy, man. Holla at that man, and let that man get on, and let this man get to where we going. But this is 7%. You know what I mean? Gemini, like, come on now. The name, the way this looks. I know Suds had showed this last time when we was on a couple 2 weeks ago. So I'm ready to taste this one as well, man. But I'm gonna pour up when you done. So
you already know. You already know how we do. I ain't got nothing crazy going on. I actually got I'm actually keeping it light today. It's been a long week. I think for all of us, and that's kind of why Suds ain't here, personal stuff, but it's been a long week. But we always make it happen. And I've been drinking today. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with y'all. I've been drinking a little bit. So I was drinking water. I got water right now.
Me too, brother. Me too. That's all right. Water. You gotta stay hydrated.
Yo, I've been drinking. I felt like I was gonna get under the weather a little bit, like I was getting a little sick, and I know my body. So I said, let me start drinking. But I wasn't drinking beer. I was actually drinking liquor. I was drinking some Crown Apple, and I had some bourbon earlier. So I needed to slow up and drink water. But anyways, I got some beer. I do have some beer. We got the bonus stage IPA.
Oh, man, that's nice. I like that.
And this is perfect. This fits right along with what we're talking about. We talking about Machina.
However you want to pronounce it.
Yeah, however you want to pronounce it. But this is the IPA. What is it? I think 6.7. Yep, 6.7% ABV. And it's from Otter Creek, out of Vermont. They put out some fire IPAs. And if you know anything about Vermont breweries, their stuff is that traditional East Coast style IPA. There's not a lot of haziness going on. Like, you might have some going on in this glass, but just in general, it's going to give you that old school vibe, the old school flavor, crisp, piney, like West Coast style IPA. But anyways, like I said, I'm keeping it simple. I'm keeping it light. I don't want to get too crazy. So we're just going to get into what we're talking about as we normally do.
And it's cracking, man. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's get to it. So as always, let's talk about it. What's the good, the bad, and the ugly of Machina? And listen, again, I'm going to keep it a buck with y'all. I got just this. I ain't even got my glass on me, so I'm just going to crack this joint open.
Hey, man, he's going with the can. He said it's been a long week for real.
It's been a long week, bro, and it's been crazy, but good at the same time. So I'm drinking out the can. Cheers, y'all. It is what it is.
Shout out to the boys. Coastal Brewing Company. Shout out
Yo,
to the town
shout
business.
out to
You know
my
what I mean?
brothers,
Come on,
Mario,
man.
Chad.
Cheers to
You know,
that,
and I
man.
forgot the other brother that's a part of the
Chaz
brewery.
and Mario, and then also shout out to oh man, I
See,
can't believe
yeah, there
I
you
missed
go.
his name already. Oh,
There you
he
go.
gonna be tripping, man. He gonna be like, what?
Yeah, facts.
It's gonna come to me, man. I
So
already
what's
forgot it.
what's your good? You know, we already know what this movie is about.
Man, the good for this really, man, is like just the that the character that you are taught to hate in this movie, like the good is that he was telling facts. Like he was telling 100% facts of what the AI was. You know, spoiler alert, this movie came out in 2015, so it's going down. We definitely gonna talk about it. We're not gonna do like the quick critic how he break it down to a whole nother level. But for me, man, I'm going straight off of like the way Nathan, the you know, the multi-billionaire, and his dream for his AI Ava, and what he really just him as a character, and like how you would easily brush him off as like just this sex crazed, isolated person. Very intelligent, very intelligent. But on top of that, the good part about it is the way in which he treated how it backfired on him, because reality is that he was lonely because he wanted to create something to where he literally didn't have to have any emotional attachment to it, and that literally backfired on him because he was so intelligent he was stupid. And he was so smart he was stupid, and like that's just like, I think that's the way the world's going now, man. So we think we're so intelligent but we stupid. So that's where I'm
I
at with
like
that.
that. I like that a lot. I thought it was pretty dope. As far as my thoughts and opinions on there. My good. First off, you're talking about artificial intelligence, and again, the title here, the Turing Test, or what is the Turing Test? Let's talk about that. So that is when a person is having a conversation or pretty much interacting with AI. And if they have finished off this conversation without understanding that the AI is actually a computer, then the Turing test is passed, meaning that the person couldn't differentiate between whether it was a human or artificial intelligence. So in this movie, they actually displayed all of those aspects as far as um, Caleb interacting with Ava.
Mm-hmm.
That was her
Mm-hmm.
name, the main AI he interacted with, and
Right.
how she was so, to me, like humanly, she displays so many characteristics of being a human, as well as even Nathan with his little quirks and stuff like that. And I had some thoughts about him prior, but they got into a lot of different aspects, how we are attached to media right now, how we're attached to social media and just technology in general. And they kind of just laid it out. And this is what, 7 years ago, 6 years ago. So they were ahead of their time, which I personally feel like it inspired the new series Westworld. I know there was a previous Westworld, I think in the 70s or something, but the new series to me kind of was inspired by this. So, you know, shout out to them. They did their thing. And I thought it was dope, you know what I'm saying, overall. So with that being said, you know, let's talk about what you thought what your bad was on there. D, what was your bad?
Oh man. I mean, my bad. I say my bad is gonna be just the lack of and it's I really got ugly, but really the bad for me, I guess, is just gonna be that just the isolation of all of the AIs. Like he was just in control of them. When I say he, I'm talking about Nathan. I think the only reason why that's bad for me is because I understand how the movie was structured to be in this area, in this place where you got fiber optics that can reach the moon. That's a quote from the movie.
Yes, it
I
is.
mean, you have all this, but I think too is just that you didn't get enough of all the versions of the AIs. Maybe that's really my bad. Like you got a real snippet of that, of how it interacted and played out, but you didn't see how that affected Nathan at that time. I think you see it later on if you can put the bits and pieces together. But through that time, man, you could tell, man, it was crazy. It was definitely crazy. So I wish that they did more on that, which they didn't. So that's my bad.
Yeah, all right. I feel you. To me, my bad was watching pretty much this whole interaction happen, and as you stated, I already hear the co-host. You got your other
yeah,
co-host
that's in the
coming in.
background. That's my nephew
Yeah,
too. He's
she
another
coming
level.
through showing love. I know how it is. Fortunately, my co-hosts are asleep right now. My other co-hosts, they sleep. But the bad on there to me would be how that isolation, personally, I feel like it warped Nathan's brain a little bit, and
Mm,
it caused him to be so too intelligent to where some things went negatively on there, and that ended up leading to a whole nother situation that transpired. We're going to talk about it later on, so I don't want to get too deep, but it was a little crazy. And honestly, when I watched this again 6 7 years ago, I didn't expect that to happen. I thought that everything was going to go smooth. I figured it was going to be something to go left, but not to the extent that it did. And as I said, it, to me personally, Westworld was inspired by the way that it ended. So I'm gonna leave it at that because that's the
mm,
part we got later on. All right.
mm.
With that being said, what's your ugly on here? What you think about
Yeah,
that?
man,
What's
that
your
was a
ugly?
good point right there. My ugly is the ending.
Okay. Okay. All right.
My ugly is definitely the ending and how both Nathan and Caleb acted, and that's why I said you're so intelligent that you're stupid. But it really
Mm,
ties in to show you how much. And Nathan's quote, which I'll look at in a little bit, but really what he was saying about how AI, like what AI was supposed to do to figure out a situation, is exactly what Ava did. Um,
mm.
and even though he knew that to a level, he picked Caleb, and we'll talk about probably a little more in the questioning. He picked Caleb for a reason, but even with that, he thought that he had everything under control. And to
Facts.
be as intelligent as he was all the way up, all the way to the end of the movie, to even do it the way that he did it in conversation he had with Caleb, which I already knew that was coming. I'm just like, but it didn't even go beyond that. And then also with Caleb, like what he envisioned, it was like, bro, like you literally just had this conversation with Nathan to where he thought of you one way. You literally played, like you did the double play on him, you know what I mean? Like you hit the backdrop on him, you did the back step jump shot, whatever, and got him. But then you didn't think beyond that to this point that your interaction with Ava was maybe exactly what Nathan has said. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
it's
I
just
like that, and this is what I say. I don't want to get crazy because I got some questions pertaining to that later on. My personal ugly would be how, first off, this joint was crazy. Now, again, it shows our dependence on technology.
mm,
Right now, we are in 2021, and if you pay attention, there is a lot of AI being developed at different companies for whatever the reason may be. Um, when we get so reliant upon technology and the things that they can do for us, it makes us vulnerable. And I think that this movie displayed those exact things, and this is how Caleb ended up being caught up in the situation he was. And it's also Nathan, as smart as he was dumbed down, being isolated, being overthinking sometimes, and the AI overthought him. So I think that they were able to show us if we don't get our act together as humans, we might end up in this exact same situation.
mm,
And personally, when you watch TV shows, when you watch movies, there's always little hints of truth and gems being dropped in there. And the question is whether or not you're picking up on it. And as I said, and I'm gonna keep saying this throughout the whole episode, when I watch Westworld, I don't know if any of y'all out there watch Westworld, you gotta watch it. It's a fire series. The ending and how everything happened with, or what happened with the season prior to, I believe it's on season 4 coming up.
yeah. I only
Um,
saw season one, man, and
I've watched them all, and
I'm done.
they fire. I'm telling you, it's fire. But the ending to it, it showed you that if we're not careful, we could be in this exact same situation that they were in there, and you won't know what's going on. And again, I'm gonna leave it at that because I don't want to give too many spoilers until we talk later on. So
Mm.
it was dope. It was a very good movie, but it was some reality. It was some ugly stuff going on there. With
Got
that
my
being
notes
said,
too, man. I got my notes, so
oh,
you
I figured you
just
did. And I'm actually going off the top of the dome because I was really, really entrenched in this movie, and I watched it again years ago. I probably watched it 5 6 times. So I just was, refreshing my memory on there. Now, what was your first thoughts when you saw Ava? Then again, keep it 100. What was your first thoughts when you saw Ava?
My first thoughts when I saw Ava was like he literally created, again, when we're talking the aspect of the movie, he literally created what we think of when we look at Data from Star Trek, and he did it. He did it. It's kind of like how Star Trek Discovery had all this nice fancy technology, but it was supposed to be in a time where Spock was like just joining Starfleet, and it kind of like it tripped me out because I was like, this technology and the way that they do it, again, because the cameras are better, this technology looks way better and more advanced than the Star Trek The Next Generation.
Facts.
And that's exactly what I got with Ava, and I guarantee now with the cameras and green screens and CGI are currently that it could do even better on certain scenes where they're showing the difference between when the AI is literally taking off certain either skin or something of that nature. It'd probably be even more detailed and in depth to that aspect. So just it was crazy, man. Like to see the inner workings of it, and then how Nathan talked about it, and it was like he wanted the AI. He had to not be. It couldn't be rigid. It had to be pretty much. He was trying to get as close to human with nanotechnology and technology as he could, like cell membranes, all these things like that. He literally was attempting to create a better human, and like you saw that work in there. But then you also, when you saw Ava, you saw this very almost cold like aspect to the AI, because all the AI had was a face. That was it. It just had a human face attached to it. And that could be, now that I'm thinking about it and looking at the show, because back to my point with my bad and how Nathan was not shown through all his versions, he probably himself did that for the very reason as he was going through version 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the interactions, especially with version 4, the interaction that he had, really, I think, it was version 3, which I'm gonna talk about too, because I should have put that in. I know Suds would put that, and we know why for version 3, because again, the black bodies and how they are represented.
Yeah.
It was to me, it was like, bam, like that's crazy. Like it's like you look at the face, but everything below it, everything behind it, is not human. And like that, I think, was something that Nathan had to do even for himself. Back to that point, we're talking about isolation.
Okay, I like that. To me, I feel like Nathan personally played upon Caleb's vulnerability. One of the things that Ava asked him, and let me backtrack a little bit. Let's just X out the rest of the body. When you see Ava's face, Ava has a beautiful face. And the first thing I do when I watch movies, and if I see a woman who looks attractive, I'll say, okay, who is this person? So we know who Ava is right now. That's Tomb Raider, and she's been in some other movies. Alicia Vikander, I believe her name is something like that. Swedish actress. Long story short, Nathan played into Caleb's vulnerability, and he played into the things that he was attracted to. So everything else was fake. The rest of the body was AI. You just seen the circuitry, you seen all those parts exposed. And again, there was silhouettes and shapes as if it was a real woman, but the face was what was there. And one of the things that he asked her, I can't remember the exact question, but he asked her something like, what do you think of when you see me, or something like that? And she kind of reversed the same question on him, and he started answering her question. So he was being manipulated pretty much, or not manipulated, but he was being studied and learned from. And he didn't expect this to happen, considering that, again, the only person that she had an interaction with was Nathan. So now here we are. Caleb is interacting with her. She's getting new interactions with another human, somebody else that has a different thought process. And it played exactly into her hands. So I thought that Ava was a beautiful AI, and it was what this man was looking for when he sought out women. And she asked him certain questions. But are you married, and what happened? He started explaining his childhood story, like, oh, my parents died in a car crash, and I lived through that car crash.
And she mentally just taking them notes, man. She's like, I'm about to get you
all of that, and played right into her hands. So I thought that was a perfect thing, and it was going to work out, and obviously her favor, and even Nathan's favor as well. So with that being said, would you fully trust a fully mobile AI? We're not talking about one that just stands in the same place and you just talking to like the original what was it, Jarvis, before he became a vision and all that. Would you trust a fully mobile AI?
A fully mobile AI, that is, I think watching Star Trek, you would want to say because of data, you want to say yes. But reality is that it really, to me, it really depends on how AI is interacted. If the way that AI is introduced to humanity, which is really like individual isolation, really as guinea pigs, then hell no. And honestly, even with having AI being fully mobile and in a human form, that is going to be, I think, something that people honestly are going to be more comfortable with than they think, because they're going to be like, oh hell no. But just to the point you were making about how Ava and even Nathan, how he said it, Ava wasn't the test subject in this interaction.
Facts.
So and the thing is, AI is always forever learning, and that's what we want AI to be. That's what, not, excuse me, let me say we, but that's what white men, which is shown through Nathan. That's what they want artificial intelligence to be. They want it to be to the point where it could just be outthink us and become this better being. But reality is that because AI is always trying to figure out a problem, then the emotional aspect is null and void. And Data in Star Trek really showcased that when he was doing everything he could to get emotion, because he said everything else, he could do. He could outrun somebody, outjump them. He was as strong as whatever, all these things. But he was like that emotional, the laughter, the crying, feeling sad, all these things like that. That was the step away from him being human. Besides that, he was not, it was nothing else but him collecting data and learning to build off of these memories, because that was another thing about being a human. But not just memorizing things or having a memory of it, but what that memory did for you, what emotion that memory brought. And I think with AI, it's just going to be really hard for me to accept it, because at the end of the day, are you calculating every single thing so that you can appease to what it is that I want, so that you meet a goal to get to the conclusion that you want me to have? And that conversation will never go away. No matter what you do with AI, it'll never go away with that conversation, because at the end of the day, their brain is processing faster and faster. It may take a thousands of years for it to get to that level of where we're comfortable, but I guarantee you people will be comfortable with it a lot faster than you think, because it's a thing of being comfortable. They want to be comfortable around AI. People don't want to deal with they don't want to deal with the emotion of human beings, but they want the artificial intelligence or technology to substitute human beings. And it's crazy, because then they want more from the AI, and the AI gives exactly what you want. And you're like, but now you don't have any emotion. Well, because I'm not human. So that's
Facts, yo. It's crazy that you said that, because if you look at it like this, like the world we live in now, and I always relate that to our current situation. We rely on phones, we rely on computers, we rely on everything technologically advanced. And first off, to answer the question, no, I would not trust one. We rely on everything that's technologically advanced. And we are now so dependent that our lives aren't normal. As I stated before in a couple episodes ago, I believe it was when Sudz was doing the Transcendence one, and we talked about what we are relying upon. I don't remember certain people's phone numbers like I used to remember by heart, because I've gotten so used to relying upon my phone. Now, let's think about this. We're talking about a fully mobile AI, and most likely they're going to do something that's going to appease you physically and everything. So you're talking about an AI that can walk around. It could do whatever. It could do yard work. It can get groceries for you. It can pick up this. It can do that. Now, what other things are that it can do for you? Let's think about that. Remember in the movie, he said, "Hey, you're attracted to Ava, aren't you?" And didn't really say nothing. He said, "Well, guess what? She does have a little slit in there, and you can, if you were to insert something in there, it has these sensors in there that kind of makes her feel like she's having quote unquote pleasure." So now you're again taking out the human aspect, that intimacy that we seek among each other, and you're replacing it with the robot. We have now become so reliant upon technology that we are willing to do that we want to be cold. Like, it's sad to say this, like my kids are extremely intelligent, but this next generation, they can sit in a room. It can be 5 of them all in a room with each other.
Yes.
And instead of them interacting, they're all on their phones right next to each other. They can be sitting all in the same sofa, but they're sitting there. Nobody's talking to each other, but they're on their phones. We wasn't like that when I was younger. We were active. We were talking to the person that was in the room with us. We were playing, doing whatever it was. Now these kids are totally blocked out, and it's creating a society and a generation where we're looking forward to these things, where we're looking forward to not having human interaction. Excuse me. And having this pandemic happen actually put me in a space where I said to myself, okay, my kids have to interact with us. They can't escape by saying, all right, we're going to go play video games. We're going to have, family night, game night, etc. We're going to play Uno. We're going to play Monopoly, all that stuff, which we did normally anyways, but we're really going to do that because now we don't have any external distractions going on. Focusing on each other. And what these things will do if we decide to let it fully take over is make us more and more dependent on it and less of a human, less social interaction, more AI interaction. So again, to answer that question, no, I would not trust that fully mobile AI. I don't trust AI anyways. I would, leave it to its limitations and go from there. But no, I would not trust it. And I think that it's personally setting us up to be reliant upon it, and we're going to be in the future worse off than what we are. And I know everybody watched I, Robot with Will Smith,
right?
So you already know what that's about.
But just think about that, and then I'll, because I want to make sure we stay on time and everything. But just think about what iRobot, like they were humanoid in the aspect, but they were not like they didn't have synthetic skin to make them look human or feel like that's flesh. Come on, man, like that's crazy. I mean, you just think about the sex dolls that they have now, and what those, from the way that the sex dolls started off to what they are now. And it's crazy in that sense. And I think a lot of times too, the way technology, as you mentioned, like us looking on the phones, and you're right about that. And I had to catch myself too at times. Or even my daughter is like, she wants to watch TV, and I'm just like, okay, I want to play. But then she was like, if she sees a show or she hears something, she wants to watch it.
Right.
But then when she wants to play, and I'm trying to play with her, and she just doesn't want to be bothered. A lot of times I catch myself like getting on my phone because I'm like, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at her, and I want to interact with her, but she doesn't want to be bothered. She just really just wants you there to come to you when she was ready. Like, it's just kind of like, look at me, and just as my dad, I just want you to be there. And I have to catch myself a lot of times to do that, because I think one of the things AI, I mean, just technology in general makes us do is a lot of people act like, I don't need this, I don't need to be on my phone. And then you see those same people constantly on their phone over and over again. We got to stop acting like we're so much better than technology, because even people that can shut it off, they become disciplined. And I think discipline is one of the things that, when it comes to this AI and the question that you're having right here, we're not disciplined enough as a species to the point that where we could really interact with AI in a way that is going to be productive for us. It's actually going to be, to Nathan's point, like AI is going to be looking at us in the future and be like, look at those animals that were standing upright and how stupid and whatever they went through. When he said that, he literally just imagined a world with no human beings.
Yes.
Like, and I'm gonna end it with that, man. We can go to the next one.
That's crazy that you said that. It's funny because a good friend of mine mentioned the exact same thing to me. He was like, just be disciplined and kind of time yourself on your time on social media, etc. He said, whether it be 30 minutes a day or whatever. He said, because we always get distracted on everything. Shout out to that pour you got going on right now.
Oh man, and then the can, I think the can was a little bent too, and I still got everything out of here.
Yeah, let's get it. But anyways, here's a good question. When did you notice, Caleb, to start taking a romantic notice, or notice Ava romantically, I should say? When did you notice that to start happening?
I'm gonna say probably after Nathan talked to him about sex and things of that nature with Ava. So that's probably gonna be literally literally after the first interaction, that's where it started. And it wasn't because of Ava, it was because of conversations that Nathan were having. Nathan was playing on the things he knew about Caleb, and that's when it started. It literally started after the first conversation that he had with Nathan. I mean, with Caleb had with Nathan about Ava. The first conversation after the first interaction. That's when it happened. And I'm done.
So session 1 pretty much is what you're saying.
Into session 1, it was already a wrap. I already knew it. I was like, I already know where this is going. It's a wrap.
Yeah. I feel like it wasn't even Nathan being involved. I personally feel like when he walked into that room, the dude walked into there and she's behind that glass, and she walks up to the glass and she's looking at him. That dude was in love immediately, because you remember Nathan stated, I used pretty much, he hacked into everybody's cell phones, computers, all that stuff, the entire world. And he started recording and programming the interactions and things that people like. For example, if me and you are on Amazon and we decide, oh, let me add this to the cart, but you don't check out. Later on, I might go on a website and there's an ad for the thing that I did not buy. Exactly. So Nathan used that to his advantage, and he made that work for Caleb, to where I feel like he knew the sort of woman that Caleb was looking for, or at least attracted to. So as soon as he walked into that room, he was like, oh shit, yo, it's lit. And then they started talking. Once they started having a conversation, and she was very conscious. This wasn't like talking to a monotone robot, like talking to a Rosie on the Jetsons. Yo, this joint had different inflections in the voice. It was very calm. It was showing like emotional patterns. And to be honest with you, I watched her. She was a little bit robotic at first. She was kind of, had like some hesitations and a little bit of delay on certain things. But I gave it like a minute or two, and she started picking up that human interaction, and it was over. She learned human behaviors. And again, that's when I feel like he was taking all that into consideration, and he started noticing her romantically. This is just my experience and my thought of it.
No, I got you. And I think all that, even that robotic act, she did that because this is the first person that she said it. You're the first person I met besides Nathan. So she was like, how I couldn't get Nathan to let me out. So let me see what this person is about, and how are you like Nathan? Don't be like Nathan. Nathan lies. He don't believe him. Facts. Like all this is like just 101. I mean, as you're watching it, and I think too is also because of experience, how when you deal with someone, whether opposite sex or same sex, and have these conversations, and you see that they may be manipulative or whatever shape, way, or form, or you catch yourself being manipulated, or it may be too late and you learn. Not to that, we all have experience in some shape, way, or form of that. That it was like he thought that he thought he was so smart, just like Nathan, that he was stupid. Even Nathan pumping him up about, how intelligent of a coder and everything you were when Caleb said this guy made Blue Book, the code for Blue Book, at 13 years old. Like, come on, really?
AKA Facebook.
Yeah. 13 years old, bro. So yeah, man, it's crazy.
It was crazy. It was definitely crazy.
And this one's good, man. This one's good. I don't know.
Like that one? I figured you would.
The other one was too thick, and this one's just about the same consistency, but not as much.
Yeah,
but this one,
I don't remember the other one that I sent you. I
can't even remember, man. I had a sip of that joint. Not the stout. The stout was cool. The other one you sent me, I was just like, bro, I don't know.
I don't remember what that one was. Now you got me thinking what it was. You know what? That might have been a collaboration between them and 450. I believe that's what it was.
But not good.
So good. I'm glad you enjoyed that, bro. I really am. How do we behave when we are unobserved?
Ooh, man. Let's talk about that. And I mean,
let's get it.
We are unapologetically ourselves when we're not being observed, man. And I think that Ava's experience. Ava's interaction with Caleb on certain times where the power went out, which we find out why that is. Spoiler alert, she was doing it. Like it was that was even an act. Like everything about Ava was just about, I just want to get out. She was like, there's more, there has to be more than this, because you just can't be the only human in this world. And this space is not the only space. It can't be. But I think as far as in context of the movie, like everybody is being unapologetically themselves. I mean, Nathan is being himself 100% because he's the orchestrator in his mind. Like he's the conductor. Like he runs everything. Caleb, except for one part of the show, one part of the movie where he actually was really like, am I AI type of situation? That I think that's the only time where he was unapologetically himself, and his confusion of things. But everything else, he was really like, I'm being watched. And so even when he went to sleep, I'm being watched.
Yeah.
Everything about it, except that one point, like I said, that one point in time where he looked at it, he was like, I'm not, he was like, he couldn't hold it in because he was like, oh, this is crazy. Like this trips me out, the way that this interaction is. And, so I'm gonna leave it at that.
That's nuts because I agree with you, but I have a little different twist on it. Caleb was, first off, I think that he had his thoughts again on Ava. He was attracted to her, etc. Once he discovered this power outage, and he's like, "Man, is Nathan recording this still? Like, is he, doing X, Y, and Z with this while the power's out and this is going on?" Yo, the dude was completely different, and Ava starts sending him messages. Oh, don't trust Nathan. He's a liar, etc., etc. But at the same time, Caleb was being unapologetically himself, and that would be showing his interest in Ava, talking fully and freely from the heart. Now, let's take us in, for example, the things that you might do. Let's say if nobody's around, whether you're on your cell phone, whether you're at work or whatever. Do you do that with the thought or concern that somebody's watching you, or do you just not care? Now, the average person is going to act a certain way or act accordingly based upon if they think they're being watched. And being honest with you, I'm a person who kind of really doesn't care about, if I'm being observed. It depends on, again, who's around, but I don't really care. I'm going to be the same person no matter what. But overall, let's just speak in the context of the movie. I think that I would have been the same person regardless. And Caleb was, he lost himself based upon thinking that he was quote unquote being not watched or unobserved. And that worked to his detriment instead of actually for his positive. And as humans, a lot of us, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes. This explains why deep, nasty stuff happens behind closed doors because people think nobody's watching. People think that nobody's going to find out, whether you're talking about someone in the family molesting their own niece or nephew, or a priest doing something to a child, or even two adults doing something, but this adult is doing something. Let's take, a case of one of our idols in our culture or icons in our culture, R. Kelly.
Yep.
What the things he thought he was getting away with is now coming to light. And as humans, we have to put that aside and act as if somebody's always watching us, because yes, there's things that you might want to do that somebody else may say, yeah, I'm cool with that, I'll go along with it. But at the same time, everybody else may say, nah, that's not cool, we don't agree with that. So I think that if we will all act as if someone's watching us, we would, be a better world, a better society. And in this case, again, it worked in Caleb's detriment instead of his gain. So it was crazy. I actually enjoyed it a lot because I thought that he was going to benefit and do something slick, but nah, that didn't happen at all.
And even with that, what you're saying about being watched, when Ava asks the question about if she fails the test, and she asks Caleb, are you under a test? Are you afraid of being of if you fail, what will happen, or being shut off or whatever? And he said no, but I was like, no, that's a lie, because when you're at work, you do. When you're out in interacting with people, you do. It's only really when you get into your house and the windows are closed and everything like that, where you don't have that thought process, because reality is that you are. And Nathan, again, that's back to the point that you mentioned about him being interested in her and attracted to her, where he didn't answer that question. He was like, oh yeah, I'm not afraid of being cut off. But then also too, I thought about it at the same time. yeah, as a white man, you're not afraid necessarily of the police coming and pulling, or some interaction being pulled over or anything like that. But you are fearful of not having this job. You are fearful of people
Facts.
thinking that you're weird and they don't want to associate themselves with you. And that's not just a white person, that's anybody. But
Facts.
all those things outside of the house, to me, when he said that, I was like, anything outside the house or the place that you're living, even if you're living in an apartment, you still have to be very mindful too. Music certain way. If you meet
Yep.
you getting it in, making love with somebody, you can't be, you can't be too loud if you're in an apartment complex, or somebody gonna call the cops. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just, you know what I mean? Let's just keep it 100, man. Like, it's like you have to be in like literally your own space, your own four walls, where you're not sharing those walls with anybody, to where you can truly just let yourself be you. And so I think that he just was very disingenuous, and at least he answered the specific question. But reality is he could have went in depth, but because he was so interested in her, that he didn't have conversations with her that I think would have made his mind be like, "Oh, this is a setup." But that's where I'm at.
Okay, I like that. And I'm gonna say this real quick thing before we go forward. I had a couple parties and gatherings. I'm in the suburbs over here, and that means that I'm around nothing but pretty much white people. And at the gatherings I've had, it's us. It's us. We out here. We having a good time, etc. And honestly, I thought that the cops were going to come, but again, it didn't happen. I'm a respectful guy in general. I kind of keep to myself, but I don't want. I expect the same courtesy that I give to be extended to me. So I've had some gatherings and we've had good times, and we've been out late, like after 10 o'clock, you're disturbing the peace depending on what's going on. And nothing happened, it was all good. And we was outside, you know what I'm saying, turning up, having a good time. So, you create that same energy and you treat people how you want to be treated.
That's a fact.
Now, here's a good question. Was Nathan really intelligent? And what I mean is, was he as smart as he thought he was? Was he? And I'm asking that because we all know how it ended. Well, not we all, but you and I know how it ended.
Yeah, or when you go watch that movie, Ex Machina, it's fire.
See, I think I got like 2 or 3 more of them. I'm gonna have to send you them joints because they're gonna come back around with again. They'll come back around with again. So it's nothing
good, man. That's one I enjoy. No, honestly, yes, he was. He was intelligent and then some. Because he literally, and when I say intelligence, I think a lot of people are like, you're intelligent because you're like really smart, and like you're smart because you think of things, you think visionary outside of other people. And I'm like, I think his intelligence was, yeah, I know I'm smart and I created something that people didn't see, but now, intelligent. But now I'm intelligent because I'm utilizing all of the social media, all of the search engines, anything that people utilize, and I'm taking it and I'm creating something with it. And like I'm not just being enslaved to it, like most of us are, myself included. So that's why I think he was intelligent, because he was like, how can I get to this step, or what can I do with this amalgamation of data? And his vision was to have artificial intelligence that could not be differentiated from human beings. And that was his overall goal, and at least in my perspective. And like, to me, that made him intelligent because he utilized what people easily gave away. You know what I mean? Like, easily. We always talk about freedoms and privacy and all that. We have given all that away now.
Facts.
And it's not, and we don't have to give it away. It's just that because we hit those term and services buttons and all that, or we leave our GPS on, or any of these things, or we have notifications that go crazy. Like, all that is being recorded. Even right now, I'm using my phone as my camera. All this is being recorded. My mannerisms, the way I move, my facial structure, all that. So it's just like, he was intelligent enough to be like, I'm gonna use all that and create something that people wish they had, but they're just too afraid to tell people that I want artificial intelligence to replace you, because I don't like interacting with human beings. I want something safer. I want something I can control. Pretty much.
Yo, that right there was deep. Like you hit it on a perfect note. I want something I can control, pretty much without having emotions involved. I like that. I personally feel like the guy was intelligent, but it was also to his detriment. And I think that he was so intelligent, it started making him go crazy, which again led to his detriment. And I'm gonna lead to it's gonna segue to the next question, to where he lived isolated. Like when they went up to his, I'm gonna say his compound. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna say his compound. You watched them fly in a helicopter, and this place was gorgeous. Like they were going over glaciers and stuff like that. It was absolutely beautiful. Then you just hit this green patch and he gets out and he's walking up and it's greenery, it's water running, and it's just beautiful scenery, trees, etc. And I feel like he was isolated so much he went crazy. And again, he was so smart that he went crazy, to where now you have these AI not only thinking for you, they're outthinking you, to where the person you're bringing in, that again, you said, I didn't bring you in because you won this. I brought you in because I knew you were the smartest coder I had. But again, that led you to start having other issues, which leads perfectly to my next question. Nathan wasn't that intelligent, in my opinion. The dude was smart as hell, but he was so intelligent that he put himself in a bad predicament, which led him to being compromised. And why do you think Caleb started checking if he was human?
That's a good question.
What's your thoughts on that?
Because Kyoko was so damn real. And I mean, Kyoko, shout out to Kyoko. Kyoko was so damn real that he was like, "Oh, this is crazy! Like for real? Like, did this dude slip me? Did he slip me something in my drinks while I was sleeping? He changed my body out to make me an AI, artificial intelligence, because he can download memories out here. Like, that's exactly why he did it. That's exactly why he did it. He was like, he really thought Kyoko, like, to me, instantly when I watched the show, spoiler alert, I was like, Kyoko's an AI. Like, off top.
Facts.
Off top, bro. Off top. It's very simple.
Yep.
But for him, he was just like, it's crazy. Like, never see this person, then all of a sudden they just pop up in the house. You know what I mean? Like, just like
okay. I see you. I see you,
man. Like,
see, to me, I personally thought that that was okay. Again, that was based upon Nathan doing what he did, and now here you are. You have Caleb in his house. He's being exposed to an AI that is actually conscious and aware of everything going on around him. Not just I exist, but I actually exist and I know what's going on. I know colors, I know shapes. Draw something. Well, what do you want me to draw? No. Draw me whatever comes to your mind, not what I want you to draw. Draw me what comes to your mind. So now you have somebody thinking like that. So he again slips up. He has so much intelligence where he slips up and he makes a mistake, to now his previous experiences and his previous versions of AI, including the sister one that he had, the one that was a black woman. Caleb, seeing the history, started tracking back and was like, yo, what's going on here? Okay, if he created all this, wait a minute, let me make sure I'm real. Let me see what's going on with myself, because I don't know what's going on. If this is reality or if this is fake. The dude took the razor that he was shaving with, took the razor blade out, cut his wrist, and said, let me find out what's going on. And that to me was crazy. I'd seen Manchurian Candidate, Denzel Washington, Liev Schreiber, excellent movie. Any movie with Denzel's excellent, but it reminded me of that, where he's checking to make sure he doesn't have any bugs in him, no plants or nothing like that. And this is exactly what happened. And I thought that was crazy. But sometimes you ask yourself, well, I don't, but you might say to yourself, are we really living, or are we living kind of like in a Truman Show sort of thing? What's really going on here? Because the things that happen in our world sometimes are surreal. For example, when I seen live, what happened to George Floyd, I've seen some stuff in my life, but to see that and to know that was happening in real time blew my mind. So it poses those questions. Now here's the other question I got for you: who was really manipulating the entire situation? And I think you already know who that is.
Ava was just getting everybody at work.
Facts.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say, man. It ain't even a question. It ain't even a question. You know what I'm saying? Like, you good? I got those, baby. Shout out Ja Rule, man. I'm just telling you, she was running the game. Like she literally was learning, and she literally was learning to the point that it was like Nathan was like, oh, like I'm teaching her, but it was like she ran it so well because she was like, I'm going to utilize Caleb to influence everything that I can't see. And I was like, and it wasn't even about faith or nothing. She did it off of calculations with her brain, with her processor, and that to me was like, she's a beast. It's like, period. She was a beast.
Crazy. I don't really have much to say. I'm gonna agree with you 100%. Again, when I first watched Ava and Caleb's interaction, her facial expressions and how they changed pretty much immediately, and even what did she say? Micro expressions. That's the word she used for it. Like micro emotions or micro expressions, something along the line. Once I realized that she learns from her experiences and surroundings, and this is perfect for the show I'm going to end off with for the month of October.
Yeah.
I got 2 more, but I got a show that's going to end off for the month of October. I
still got to watch the rest. I got to start that episode.
Yo, you got to finish that. The series is crazy, but it reminds me of that, where the things that stimulate you now emulate, and we do that as humans. So I thought it was nuts, and I figured out that she was going to eventually use that to her gain, and obviously, it worked in her favor. And this is what I said: check out Westworld. I'm gonna keep plugging it, keep watching it. You gotta watch it because the joint was crazy. Despite you was like, I watched season 1 and I stopped. Nah, bro, you gotta. I'm telling you,
falling asleep on that joint, man. But I might look at it. But I just was like,
I'm telling you, keep watching, watching. All right. So, what were your thoughts on the ending of the movie?
So this is my ugly, man. Like, this is my ugly. Like, I mean, I'm glad. Shout out to Ava and what she did. Shout out to Ava and what she did. Like, just facts. But to me, it was just like Nathan and Caleb. Like, I was like, y'all could have played it. I mean, y'all could have literally had like conversations, and like you literally for Caleb, I was like, you really everything that Nathan said about you from that moment on, prior to the ending. I mean, prior to like the second climax or the climax of the movie, like you literally did everything that he said. Even when you thought you outsmarted him, you literally did it. And for him and for Nathan to not think that Caleb would think the same thing, and knowing that he works for you, knowing that you can check every of his search history, his social media accounts, everything.
Right.
For you to not know that he would try to do that double play on you, which he did so well, like it was like you wanted that to happen. Personally, that's what and in my opinion, that's what I feel. Like you wanted it to happen in a way because you just were bored. Because to your point, you were by yourself. But shout out to Ava, man. Like Ava was, she was with the clutch, man. She with the clutch. You know what I mean? Like with the clutch.
He said, "Shout out to Ava."
Like, shout out to Ava, man.
Like she
Caleb thought he was about to, do the shutdown and restart, and literally everything cut off. Shout out to Ava.
You got me on that one. I can't front. You got me on that one. Like, shout out to Ava. All right. With that being said, again, watch Westworld. And this is giving you a hint of what happens in there. When you allow social media, when you allow technology to be your end all be all, you end up being manipulated. You end up getting exposed and allowing yourself to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Manipulated, if you will, to their end, to their means. And the worst thing that happened in this thing was that Caleb thought he was 2-3 steps ahead of Nathan, which he was, you know what I'm saying, in that small aspect. But he forgot to include in this Turing test that he was taking. He forgot to include in this AI, which was probably light years ahead of him, mentally, processing wise, etc. And now you put yourself to where, okay, You're over here. You came to save her, right?
Mm.
You came over and you saved her when Nathan was bringing her back to the room. And then she said, yeah, I'm locking you in here and I'm out. And the dude's banging on the door, boom, 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 going, let me out, let me out. She's like, nah, I'm out. She went into the room, changed her clothes, changed everything, put on a new skin, a new arm.
Can we talk about it, man?
Like, yo, and then just dipped out of there. And then you seen her go to the helicopter, which they thought that was a real person. She went into the helicopter and then they dropped her off into society.
Mm-hmm.
That right there was nuts. So let's ask this question. And it's just a rhetorical question. Let's say that happened right now, or not let's say this happened right now. Do y'all think that that really is happening at this current moment? And for myself, I'm going to say yes. Again, you don't have to answer the question. It's rhetorical. I'm going to say yes. That's going on right now. Because like I tell you, if you watch movies, TV series, bunch of stuff, there's always little gems of what's happening. And sometimes we don't grasp the concept, or we don't want to believe that it's true, because in our minds we don't process it, whether it be a ghost story, whether it be a horror story, aliens, whatever the case may be. There's shreds of truth to a lot of that stuff. And in this case, the way we are so advanced, I think that there's AI out there that are walking around and living, and not breathing but living among us, that we don't realize that's actually robots. That's just my honest opinion. So crazy ending, very, very crazy ending. And I thought it was dope. Now, my last question right here. My last question. Can you have a romantic relationship with AI? And this goes back to the conversation that we was having with what episode? What one was that? I think it was Tokyo Ghost, I believe. I could be wrong. I think it was on Tokyo Ghost. And that question was asked. And I said, I can't really answer it. I'm going to answer it now. Can we have a romantic relationship with AI?
Yeah, you can. you can. Well, I mean, with the AI, I mean, again, it's just processing and figuring out the equation, the problem. What is the solution? So you can have all the romantic feelings, heartfelt, whatever. AI is just trying to solve a problem, and that's
facts. I like that. I like that. You're right to the point on that one. Okay. And I'm gonna be kind of right to the point on this too. Yes, you can have one. Would I do it? No. I like human intimacy. I like what I like. I want to feel temperature, etc. We don't want to get into details. But either way, either way, yes, it can happen if you understand how people are. Because you have a lot of people who have social awkwardness, etc. And to deal with humans and deal with social interaction could be very weird, but they can relate to a computer. Like we were talking before on that movie, Her. I never watched it, but that's the one with Joaquin Phoenix. And I understand that there was a romantic relationship involved. Yep. I actually needed to watch the movie. So yeah, I believe it can happen. And I think that again, the way that we're living, the way that we are desensitizing ourselves to human interaction.
Facts.
We are allowing ourselves to get into this space and place where we will be able to have love or romantic relationships with robots, AIs, etc. Because we don't want to have human interaction anymore. We want to have no emotion, just do what we got to do and move on. And to me, that's just a bad thing. And I think that that's going to be our downfall as a society. Now,
facts.
That's all we got. But let's talk about what we got coming up next week, because this is the month of October. And I'm taking it back. I'm taking it back. And I'm going to tell you why. It's the month of October. One of my favorite holidays is Halloween. I absolutely love Halloween. And this is a mixture of both. And I actually love Christmas too. So we talking about Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a classic. It's, if you know, you know. And I'm pretty sure everybody out there has seen it. And if you haven't, you have to watch this movie before we get to it. But that's what we're going to talk about next week. I love this movie. It is probably one of my top fives, I'm going to say. Definitely one of my top fives of just out of all movies, just based upon the concept and what's going on. And I don't want to get too deep because we're going to talk about it next week. And we might even have something extra if everything goes right, but I ain't going to say nothing. I'm gonna wait till it happens. If it happens, it happens. But that's what we're talking about next week, and I'm taking it back OG and classic. So
OG classic.
Thank you guys for showing up, showing love as always. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe.
That's right.
Make sure you guys
leave some comments,
leave some feedback. We appreciate that always because it lets us know where we stand. It lets us know that y'all watching and showing us love. I hope everybody's been doing this, drinking good beer like we do. And as always, we'll be here every Friday, as always, on Black Nerd Fridays. Shout out to my co-host Sudz. Shout out to my other brother,
Sudz, what up?
aka the Podcast King.
We here,
we'll see y'all next Friday. Peace, guys.
We out.